There comes a moment in every thinking person's life when the silence becomes unbearable. Not the silence around you, but the silence within, when the noise of distraction fades and you're left alone with your own mind. And in that silence, something terrifying happens. You begin to see. Not the polished lies we tell ourselves to survive, but the raw, ugly truth buried underneath it all. That this life, this endless chase, this ritual of wanting and losing isn't beautiful. It's a slow, grinding tragedy, and the more you think about it, the more unbearable it becomes. Because thinking doesn't save you. It exposes you. It rips the skin off reality and forces you to stare at the bones. It shows you that happiness is a myth, purpose is a fantasy, and love is often just two people clinging to each other while drowning. The mind, when fully awake, doesn't bring peace, it brings horror. Arthur Schopenhauer understood this better than anyone. To him, life was not a gift, but a curse. And the human mind, so proud, so hungry, was the executioner of its own joy. Because the deeper you think, the more you see. And the more you see, the more you suffer. Stay with me until the end, not for comfort, but for the cold, unfiltered truth about why your thoughts are not your escape. They are your cage, and in this cage we all rot together, some screaming, some silent, but all of us thinking. You're born into this world without a choice. You don't get to pick your parents, your body, your brain, your economic situation. You're just thrown into it, and the clock starts ticking. From the moment you become self-aware, you begin to suffer. You want love, safety, power, validation, and life becomes a constant struggle to satisfy these desires. But as Schopenhauer pointed out, even when you get what you want, the satisfaction doesn't last. The desire is gone, and boredom takes its place. Then, new desires appear, and the wheel keeps spinning. Most people live like this without thinking too much about it. They distract themselves with work, entertainment, romance, or religion. They convince themselves there's a higher purpose or a future reward. But once you start thinking deeply, once you begin to strip away those illusions, you start to see the horrifying truth. There is no finish line, no grand reward at the end, no meaning written into the structure of the universe, just blind, unconscious will, endlessly hungering for more. Schopenhauer called it the will to life. This blind force inside every living creature, pushing us to survive, to consume, to reproduce without any rational purpose. It's not noble. It's not beautiful. It's a compulsion, a cosmic addiction. And human beings, because of our capacity for thought, are the only species cursed to know this. We see the suffering, we feel it, and we understand that it's never going to stop. Now here's where it gets darker, because the more you think about this, the more paralyzed you become. You start to realize that everything you do is driven by unconscious forces. You don't really choose your thoughts. You don't choose your desires. They just appear in your mind, uninvited. And you chase after them because you think they'll make you whole. But they never do. Instead, the chase wears you down. The thinking turns into brooding. Brooding turns into dread. And dread turns into nihilism. This is the part where the overthinker drowns. You start questioning every move you make, every motive, every emotion. You stop trusting yourself. You stop trusting others. You see manipulation behind kindness. You see desperation behind ambition. You see that love is often just a mask for dependency, and success is just a bandage over existential panic. You become painfully aware of your own absurdity. Why do we work so hard just to die? Why do we fall in love just to lose? Why do we build civilizations only to watch them collapse? Why do we create beauty if it's going to fade? These aren't just poetic questions. They are the raw screams of the thinking mind, stuck in a universe that doesn't care. And the more you think, the louder the screams become. That's why most people avoid deep thinking. Not because they're stupid, but because they're sane. Because they instinctively know that there's a cliff at the end of that mental road, and staring into it too long might pull you in. Schopenhauer believed that art, music, and aesthetic experience could temporarily lift us out of this suffering, give us brief moments of transcendence where the will to life is silent. But even he knew those moments were fleeting. They don't fix the problem. They just numb it. You can see this all around you. Look at the most intelligent people, the writers, the philosophers, the artists. How many of them lived happy, peaceful lives? How many of them escaped depression, addiction, or suicide? Not many, because they saw the machinery behind the curtain. They saw how empty it all was. And once you see that, there's no going back. Schopenhauer's view of the mind was deeply influenced by Buddhism. He admired the idea that life is suffering, and that the only way to escape it is through the denial of desire. But in a world like ours, where everything is engineered to stimulate your cravings, how do you deny desire? How do you kill the will? You don't. Not easily. You scroll, you binge, you buy things you don't need, you chase attention, you run from silence. Because silence is where the thoughts return. The darkness creeps in. The questions start again. Why am I doing this? What's the point? What happens when it all ends? And most people can't handle that. So they distract themselves until the day they die. But if you're one of the unlucky ones, the thinkers, the overanalyzers, the ones who see too much, you'll find that thinking doesn't free you. It traps you. It turns you into your own prisoner. Every insight becomes a blade. Every revelation, a weight. You carry the burden of consciousness like a curse. And maybe that's the tragic irony of human intelligence. We evolved the ability to think so we could survive. But now that we've survived, we use that same ability to question whether survival was worth it in the first place. You might ask, is there any way out of this? Schopenhauer would say, barely, maybe through renunciation, maybe through detachment, maybe by turning away from the chaos of the world and accepting the futility of it all with a quiet kind of dignity, but not through more thinking. Thinking got you here, and thinking will only deepen the hole. You can't outthink the pain of being alive. At some point, you have to accept that the mind isn't your friend, that it's not a wise guide, it's a trickster, a sadist. It shows you things you didn't want to see, then mocks you for not being able to look away. So what do? You breathe. You exist. You try not to chase so much, not to want so much. You don't look for meaning like it's some golden key hidden in the maze. You stop asking the universe to explain itself. You let the storm pass through you without demanding answers. Because maybe that's all we really can do. And maybe, just maybe, there's a strange kind of peace in that. Not the peace of happiness, not the peace of fulfillment, but the peace of surrender, the peace that comes when you finally stop trying to solve the puzzle, when you stop trying to escape the trap, when you stop trying to think your way out of the human condition and just let yourself feel the weight of it. It's heavy, it's painful, but it's real. And in a world full of lies, illusions, and false hope, maybe real is the best we can hope for. So the next time someone tells you that thinking is the key to life, ask them how their mind treats them when the lights go out. Ask them what they see in the silence. Ask them if all their intelligence has brought them peace or just more vivid nightmares. Because in the end, the truth is brutal, but it's honest. The more you think, the worse life gets. And knowing that might be the first step towards seeing clearly.